The Driving While Awesome podcast is recorded live to SD card at the Beeline Motor Club in Santa Cruz, California.
Welcome to Driving While Awesome, part of the Hagerty Podcast Network. My name's Warren.
I am Lane.
Mark.
And I'm Dante.
We're joined by Dante.
Yep, the homie.
Hello, hello. Choking on beer.
What was that? He said low, low?
Croaking. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
He goes, low, low?
I thought I heard a low, low.
Low, low.
How far down on the rings are we in Dante's Inferno in Driving While Awesome?
Wherever the glutton
Glutton
people
that's actually
are.
probably that's like a halfway down or something.
Is it?
Not too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to the sodomite level. We're going to stay clear of that one.
Yeah, that's
True. By the way, welcome back, Art.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I did want to clear the air right away, right off the bat, because I listened to our podcast on
Yeah.
the way over here, the one that I was missing. The T-shirt. So there was a lot of talk
Oh,
about
yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
we're
waiting.
I was rebelling. See,
I said that, though,
So
right?
I was the only one who was wearing that shirt, and
okay.
it said, it was like, let's all wear matching T-shirts, said no one ever, or something like
Yeah,
that.
it said no man,
No man ever. And but
so you're being a, what is that?
Like a touch of
Something
misogyny,
like-
maybe?
Yeah, maybe like there's a little like, hey, what's a man?
yeah, yeah.
But okay.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's also it is cringeworthy as well, as you said. Yeah, I agree.
Well, but it was more. I thought my guess, as you heard, was that all the guys had those, which
That
is
was me.
like you're doing what you're doing while making it's
Yeah, for sure.
even
Yeah,
worse, right?
totally. But it was just me. It was a solo move, and it was well received.
I'm sure.
And it was only worn one day for a family photo.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
right.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that you were rebelling by wearing that shirt on your own.
That was the move.
The one thing, though, I wasn't sure about was you posted a picture, or maybe your wife did, but you were wearing a tuxedo.
Oh yeah. There's formal nights.
There was a formal nights on cruises,
But that's a joke, right? See, I thought that was a joke.
Right.
The only cruise I went on was a bachelor party. We wore tuxedo T-shirts to that.
Well, because you were on Carnival Cruise
yeah.
Lines.
You were on like shit, like a joke
Wait,
on it.
but is it really like a thing? Like,
Oh, it's a full-on thing. Yeah, you go and eat at the fancy dinner at the
And you
fancy
have to,
restaurant,
right? You
and
have to
everybody
dress up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's
you don't
formal
have
night.
to, though.
I think
I mean, it's
Really?
Oh, what are they gonna do?
You have to if
not
you go,
let you in.
they're
I
going
don't
to give
know.
you
won't let you
COVID
in.
and put you in your cabin?
I mean, I thought
Yeah.
they wouldn't let you in. It's like
Yeah.
like you go to I've been to restaurants where you have to wear a sport coat.
okay, but sport coat, but like
around
tuxedos, right?
walking
No, but that's what
around,
I'm
you can get
saying.
away with
Tuxedo.
it. But like if you want to go to the nice restaurant, like it's formal night, you
You
have
just
to
wear
dress
like a
up.
blazer,
Yeah, you can wear a blazer.
Georgie style.
You'll almost feel out of place, though, because you'll show up to those formal dinners and everyone's in tuxedos.
But
Tuxedo
maybe that
T-shirt, by the way.
Oh, no. Like, if you're like above the Carnival Cruise level, then they get real, dude. It's serious.
Yeah, they won't let you in.
What if I wear a shirt that says, I really want to wear a tuxedo when I'm on a cruise, said no person ever?
Dude, they might let you in.
Pack
for that.
it. How
They
about
might let you
packing
in.
it?
Wow.
Yeah.
To bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a whole bag.
They might let you in.
Yeah, F that.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to play the part, you know.
There was a guy.
I like to wear a tux.
There was a guy super bummed on our cruise on our group. He was like, "Captain's dinner, guys, come on!" Wow, like give me a fucking break.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
because you guys were doing the tuxedo shirts. He was
I've never worn a tux. Do you feel like James Bond?
kinda,
Yeah.
right away.
Did you feel like you had to like go and chase a diamond or do something crazy
I
when
did,
you're in
yeah,
there?
like I
you were
jumped
kind of like
over,
looking
like,
at people with like
yeah.
X-ray glasses on.
Yeah.
was it nice though? Like the actual dinner?
Yeah, it's nice.
It was nice.
Yeah, a nice full 5-course meal and everything.
Yeah.
But I what I did is I would jump off of like the second floor into the atrium and land on the
Sick.
marble.
Like
and,
Spider, like put your hands down when you land.
yeah, exactly. Kind of like Mission Impossible style.
Yeah.
Like you land.
Oh,
on,
you
know,
did that.
done.
That's sick.
Because
Yeah.
to do that, he has to wear a whole, get up
of
underneath.
course.
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so you have the tux over it, and then you rip it off, and then you've got like your fancy digs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fancy digs.
Yeah, it's it's
what I was
fine.
gonna
It's
say.
a family thing. It's an easy way to put
It's
a lot of people
family
together.
thing, dude.
To not have to move your luggage a lot and visit a lot of places at once. So
How did this rank on your cruise portfolio? What are you into? About 20 now?
about 20, yeah. It's not my favorite. Not my
Okay.
favorite. A lot of
Open ocean.
open ocean, yeah. A lot of sea days, 4 sea days each way, which is not great. So, but
That's what they call them, sea days.
a sea day.
Did
yeah.
you? So did this boat have like a wave pool? What did it have? What were
Just
the
had
amenities?
3 swimming pools, boring swimming pools, yeah.
Anything else?
and
a
splash
bowling
pools for the
alley, a
kids.
movie
golf,
theater,
mini golf,
Mini golf, yes. Mini golf.
movie theater.
Movie theater.
climbing
What
wall,
movies?
rock
Did you
wall?
watch a movie?
I did not watch movies. I was mostly eating and swimming and doing other things.
Nice.
A lot of trivia. We got
sounds awesome.
we did okay. We were usually pretty good as a team. We got 4th place out of 75 teams.
Oh,
and it's
good.
all
Humble brag.
It's all
Yeah.
it's all.
That's what we call that.
cruise
I
trivia.
mean, considering we've actually won some, that's actually not that good.
Even more. Another humble brag.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we have a good mix of people of all age groups. I mean, it's a small team, 5 people. You know what I'm saying, dog? We were the Amelia Shooting Stars.
Okay. Okay.
My daughter's name.
We're doing it, folks.
But I'm back. I'm happy to be on land and driving. I really miss driving when I'm not driving.
Yeah.
Even when you're on vacation away from your own car, you know, like it's nice to get back in your car.
Cars are cool.
For
make
sure,
noises.
dude.
Yeah.
That's why you own cars.
I like to, yeah.
Right?
To do that. Otherwise, I mean, occasionally I like to just put them in a box and stare at them or air conditioned, ideally, not drive them because they appreciate, apparently. That's what I heard, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
they do.
true.
That's true.
Markets and things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bull markets.
Well, this week we are talking about the Hagerty Bull Market, which came out for 2023. Have you guys looked at these in the past?
Well, do
Paid
we have
attention to them?
questions first, or what are we going to do? How are we going
Well,
to
I
do
think
this?
we should. Let's do questions after.
Yeah, let's dive into this. Yeah.
I think we should just knock this out and
knock it out.
discuss it. I've kind of been looking at these in the past, and it's a very eclectic mix. You know, all budgets considered for sure. Some very expensive stuff in there, but what do you guys want to do? You want to just go down the list and kind of discuss as we
Yeah,
go through
yeah. I
them?
mean, and if I think as we go through them, think of like maybe one option that you would take on a rally that you would want as a rally car, and then another one that you think is going to appreciate the most.
Okay,
You can do that.
we could all pick the exact same car.
Yeah, we'll all pick the same exact cars. That's
Will
good.
you?
We might.
Probably.
Nah, I might surprise you.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
dude.
You're going Toyota truck on
Well,
the rally?
this is DWA's choice then, if that's the case, right?
Yeah. All right, starting off the top, I had this little note here from the website. 1985 through 1993 Saab 900 Turbo. And I think Lane is the only one that has real experience with this car. He likes Saab turbos.
I love them.
Loves them, folks.
I love this chassis, this body, this like generation of 900.
Yeah.
They're great. And they made them forever, basically.
They made a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time you owned a Saab?
I never personally owned a sub.
What? I thought you had one for a little bit.
Nope. We had them in my family.
Oh,
always.
okay.
So I would
your dad had this car, right?
my
Didn't you?
dad, we never had an SPG. We had a couple 900s,
That's what it is.
coupes.
Yeah, 900 Turbo.
We had
not
a
an SPG.
900 turbo convertible.
Yeah.
Never had an SPG. The Neils had a couple SPGs.
They came in some cool colors. There's a yellow, I recall.
Yellow with the gray cladding.
That's a limited
Yeah.
edition. I can't remember what the
That
details
was
are.
like that was in cab form, I think. Was
Right.
that one? The yeah.
And the cabs weren't ugly.
No,
they
they're
actually
good.
were a
No, they're
well
great.
executed cab.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're awesome.
So they're really comfortable cabins. They have that straight up and down windshield, and it's like it wraps around, so you have this killer view of the road because your A pillar is actually like right next to you. Very, aero feelings. Because they're born from jets, obviously.
Well, yeah. Well,
Although this is pre-born for jets advertising. But yeah, they're really cool. They have they have a bunch of Saabs known for quirks. So they have the center console key,
Right.
which
such
instead
a
of
silly idea.
I mean, it makes sense. Like some of the stuff it has makes
a
sense,
safety
right?
thing, isn't
It locks the transmission, so you can't steal the car rather than locking the steering wheel.
Sure.
Which, if you're looking at that, that's kind of a cool thing, right?
And then your starter goes out, and you have to make quite a bit of work to get in there. It's
What do
like,
you mean?
isn't it in an inconvenient spot for maintenance?
Well, I know the engines
No,
are
it's-
backwards, right?
you
There's
talking-
something weird about the backwards.
Checking the ignition goes out?
Or I'm sorry, the ignition goes out.
No,
I
it's-
believe it was a tough. It was a compromise. Like it's not necessarily the easiest maintenance figure.
It's not too bad because it's just right there in the
I
center.
think the real
It's just
knock is that
right there.
liquid and junk gets into the,
Yeah.
the tumbler.
Yeah,
Because
if you spill like a
it's
drink,
like where
or
all like the
something.
crud goes.
Is it
in
right
your
next to a
car.
cup
right
holder?
there.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yikes.
forget if there's a couple. I doubt it has cup holders because it's a car from
But just like
1985 or whatever.
Yeah, but just in general, like that's where all the crap.
they would
goes.
definitely have like gunk in them, and
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, but yeah,
But there's a bunch of stuff on that
There
car.
is,
It's
yeah.
just like a very quirky car, and
Yeah.
just the configuration of the engine and trans and everything.
Because it's like the engine is longitudinally mounted backwards, right? And it's got the transmission underneath it.
Yes.
From
It's
what I
got an
recall.
angle, correct?
And it's also very slanted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
they're
funky.
a trip. So I'm sure some things are very easy to work on and some are horrible, right?
Yeah.
Like just based
I
on
remember.
that.
Yeah.
I think clutches were like really easy. I want to say. my like it took like a couple hours to do a clutch or something.
Art.
Yeah, I've been doing them for a while.
But yeah, I think there is definitely some weird packaging stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they always felt like very solid cars. And there's like a weirdness to the way they handle and drive and everything about them, which is
A little Citroen in them.
yeah, for sure. And they ride really nice and they handle well. They just handle different. Like you drive them in a different way than you would. It's almost like 911-ish.
like an Audi, kind of like an Audi, like heavy.
Yeah,
trail breaky.
but they feel a lot more like Audis feel. These feel a lot more like almost like an electric car. Almost like, to me, I don't know why, but they feel like the weight is very low, but it's obviously front wheel drive.
And it wasn't long ago that you were actually looking for these.
Yeah,
You had these on your radar
I
as a
did.
car. I mean, this is like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe like pre-COVID.
yeah,
But we were sending some of these back and forth, and SPGs were really hard to find then.
they were, and very expensive when we did find them, and now they're down to their
They were expensive, and they needed a bunch of stuff.
exactly.
And now it's like, man, a perfect SPG is like unobtainium,
Yeah.
basically. And these cars in general, like we are lucky in Santa Cruz, there's 2 Saab shops here in town, which I don't think there's many towns like that, right? Like, and how long are those going to survive? I think one of them's probably on its last legs, and parts are tough.
Dante actually just texted a little group thread we have today, and because he saw the Pierce Automotive 900 turbo with the hood off, that car.
Oh man, that thing looked savage.
I mean, it's been going around for years.
Yeah.
And
Is it the red one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it has
No.
like,
No,
it's not the red
It
one.
was the like graphite gray.
Oh, okay.
They had a red 9000 for
They had a
sale.
red
Oh, the
900.
9000.
years.
They had a red 900 with
And
without
the
a hood
hood
and
scoop on it or
and
whatever.
and I think it was putting out like 350 horsepower or something like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
their Saabs are crazy.
The 9000 I looked at. I'm like, is this a thing? I'm like, should I get? Because it was actually pretty reasonably priced, and it sat on Craigslist for a while.
It was like
I
9 or
Oh,
10
theirs?
grand. It was like ported and polished.
It was pretty
and
beefed up.
Everything
Yeah.
done in house.
But they're super cool cars, and I mean, I can see. I think that's kind of what I think has limited or hindered them from becoming more kind of like appreciated is the fact
Yeah.
that there's the lack of like
Parts,
maintenance options,
people to work on them. And I think that's one of those things we can talk about a lot on this list. Like, but that's the reason why like companies like Mitsubishi are hard to have a collectible car, right?
Yeah.
A car that's really going to do anything crazy. And then you will have some like high-end supercars that do really well, even though they're hard to find parts, but that's because all supercars are hard, and their specialness and their rarity like makes them rise above.
Yeah.
But I think on a for a certain level, like if you're looking like a $50,000 collectible or a $30,000 collectible, if it's hard to find, like almost impossible to find parts or people to work on it, that's a hard.
The other thing too with these cars is it's kind of the Volvo phenomenon where they were used hard. They were cars that were like just in the family forever.
and snow, right? New England,
Snow.
you got a lot of weight
Notorious-
across the front. And
Notorious East Coast
Scandinavia.
cars for sure.
Yeah, passed through. And then the company's been dead for a few years now, like probably 10, 15 years
Yeah,
now.
10 years.
But that
And
makes them collectible, right?
It makes them
rarity
collectible,
is
but
that-
then going back to like, they're usually beat up. Rust wasn't always kind to them, and then parts are hard to get.
Right.
Yeah, and if Saab was still a company, you might have Saab bringing back like 900 parts,
Exactly.
and selling,
Exactly.
kind of trying to keep the brand alive, and with nostalgia, like BMW is finally like bringing a lot more parts back. Porsche's been pretty good at that.
BMW, Porsche Classic, all that.
Mercedes is doing a better job now, although they kind of failed for a while.
Yeah.
But Mercedes been
But
classic.
I think with something like this though, it might not be like a huge aggressive appreciation curve, but I feel like it's the type of person that might already have a bigger collection and they appreciate this and they're willing to pay the premium and wait for those parts to come, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not a primary vehicle. So it can sit in the corner, it's 7th, 8th car, and it's got all the coolness and that radness, right? Like that rad factor of like all these things that we're describing, right? Like the visibility, like the looks, the aesthetics, the weird turbos, like all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, they're cool. SPGs are super rad too. I still haven't driven one.
I think the biggest thing of all 900s is that like Dude, there's no other car. You would never mistake a Saab 900 for any other car.
Yeah.
It's like so Saab 900. It's like so what it is, dude. And you get in that car, the dash is really cool. It's like flat. There's nothing to it. It's just like a flat dash with a shelf. And the way the door pockets are carved out, so you have this cool like area to put your arms.
And the crazy rear hatch and like fold down seats. And
fold down, tons of room.
Funky.
That spoiler coming off the rear looks kind of cool. I mean,
shout out Jerry Seinfeld too.
Oh yeah,
let's not forget.
Yeah.
Super solid factory kit on SPGs too. One of my favorite factory kits of any car.
And then like that toolkit, you mean, and all that?
No, I'm talking like
body
kit.
Oh, body kit.
Like talking about what a manufacturer will do in house and put out there.
I mean, I was like, shit,
I'm
it's
with
got to
you,
be pretty
dude.
extensive.
Toolkit was pretty good. It was
These
like
guys.
BMW style or
Swedish
it was in the
gloves.
back.
Yeah.
They say a really nice one is 29,800, and the low on a perfect 900 turbo with probably high mileage is 14,600.
And this is not SVG, or this is just turbo?
900 turbo.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
14.6.
I think that's a mileage thing, right? Like you have those outliers that are super low mileage.
We see them much cheaper than this, but they usually do have high mileage.
and they're tattered.
They can be tattered.
I think you're onto something with existing collectors, because when you look at an entry collector car for someone like me, when I look at a $20,000 or $30,000 car, if I can't get a valve cover gasket for under $300 or without really going online and like hustling, then it's out of my price range.
You can get a valve cover
Gaskets.
I'm
yes.
just you get those like
part,
weird quirky parts. I mean, even the
Valve cover,
Integra,
maybe.
like an alternator or something, right?
I mean, from experience, in order to get like an OEM valve cover gasket for my Integra, it was like $80.
Yeah.
And it doesn't calculate.
You're looking for like, especially impact items like radiators, stuff like that. Those start like drying up pretty quick. So
Yeah.
And I am guessing this includes SPG, just because turbo SPG is just like a.
it's got to.
It's
For
like
40,
it's like
for
it's like an
30 grand.
M3 comp as opposed to an M3.
Was there any?
30,000, yeah.
What was the difference between like the highest upgraded 900 to an SPG? Was it just the body
SPG
kit
is
aero?
just like body kit, and I think that's it. Maybe
Well, it's
some
lower
shocks
too. It
or
has
something.
suspension on it.
Yeah, maybe
So some sports
I don't think
suspension
it had
body.
a
more
little bit.
power,
Yeah.
though, did it?
No.
So it's like a 190 Sportline.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
you can get a
It
190.
probably had different seats. I don't.
No different
Same
seats.
seats, huh?
I think same seats. I think it's pretty much
Wheels?
the same. I think it had the 3-spoke
Yeah.
wheels, so those were, I think,
Maybe a
specific
fitment
to
thing, yeah.
the.
and they were
SPG.
like dished a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they were
cool.
nice. Those are good wheels.
The only probably the best 3-spokes ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right? They actually
For
look
OEM,
good,
yeah.
and
So
you'd be like,
proportional.
dude, those are actually like a good and 3. Yeah,
Yeah. The 3-spoke wheels get real unproportional. When they make a spoke too long, it just like reminds me of like
terrible.
early 2000s,
Skinny is bad, yeah.
like
Yeah.
Can't go skinny.
Eclipse
like
or
the
something.
Anteras
They have to be
Oh,
of
chunky.
the 90s.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to be chunky.
Tri spokes.
Try spokes till you die spokes.
All right, 1991 through 1998 Suzuki Cappuccino. I just had
rad.
some coffee myself.
Sick.
I've never liked these cars.
I think they're ugly.
I
I
think
hate
they're really
it.
cool.
I think
Yeah.
they're cool in theory, but they just need a body kit.
think they're so ugly.
It's like an MR Spider where I'm just like, God, you guys were so close.
I think they're like more like a little NB Miata. That's what they remind me of.
but they
Yeah.
don't look as good.
They
They don't look as good, but I think they're cool. And I think the technology is super rad. It's like a dual overhead cam, a little 3-cylinder.
And they're
Sure.
turbo.
And they're turbocharged.
I like
And they-
everything else about them, the size and
Yeah.
their overall profile. It's just that front end. I cannot get over that headlight.
It looks like
grill.
you know what it looks like is what's the car that was built on the Mustang chassis that we got in like the 2000s, the Roadster thing?
on the Mustang chassis.
Panos. It looks like a Panos.
Oh, yeah.
it does.
It's kind of
The
goofy
Panos
looking,
is uglier,
and which
though.
is also looks like a NC or NB Miata,
Yeah.
but like crappier.
Yeah.
And it looks a lot like that.
Yeah, that's
And
funny
I don't like
because
that look.
I know. It is a very American looking. It's not, the proportions are just weird.
Yeah,
And
The rear is tough. That's like it's got that flat taillight weird look. Like the
I
rear
think
is
the
the
front's
one.
pretty tough, dude.
Dude, I
Yeah.
think it's pretty
The
rad. I think
front's
definitely a body kit helps, as you're saying. There's some pretty
Yeah.
cool kits out there. But I mean, I like conceptually, like it's like super high revving, little tiny turbocharged engine that sounds cool. It's got great weight distribution. There's a huge aftermarket for them, and they weigh like 1,500 pounds. Like that's just like all fun
Yeah.
stuff, right?
So,
it's like,
AZ1 or Cappuccino?
oh man,
Because
I know.
AZ1 looks really cool.
It does
I think,
look really
and,
cool.
and
Yeah.
that just like looks cool no matter what.
That is true.
Those have to be a little more expensive than a cappuccino.
They are. They are. Yeah, this is like up and coming. These have all been like low teens for a long time, and even like you can probably get for one for like $9,000, like in okay shape. But it's like I think there's room though, like just for a quirky, weird little thing. It's not my choice. I mean, if it was in that group, right? Like I think the AZ1 takes the cake. It's this versus the Beat versus the Cappuccino.
Yeah.
The AZ1's just so cool. It's got the gold wings, the mid-engine.
AZ1, then Beat, and then Cappuccino for me. Just based on aesthetics. I haven't driven them all.
I feel like I've driven
Beat
the Beat.
is non-turbo, right?
It's NA, and they're so gutless. And I feel like that would be annoying. Whereas like this is pretty tunable because it's turbocharged, so you can actually get a little bit of oomph and make it fun. Whereas like the Beat is just like
63 horsepower out of the Cappuccino, 1543 pounds, 63 horsepower.
They all are right around there. These cars.
There's one in Midtown, and it's a pig. The things are ugly. Proportionally, the cabin is so tall. They put a person in it, and they put a vacuum to it and suck the air out of it and like fit it around a person.
By the way,
it's tough.
It's a Targa convertible.
That's right.
So it's got you can have the rear glass up, or you can do a Targa thing only. Like where you take off the midsection, or you remove all of it. Like you can have it be a.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
So it's pretty cool. Like that type of stuff.
Yeah, I just wish the styling just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one for me, but I understand that they only have they can only go up, right? In value when you have something that's like $8 or $9,000 or whatever, $10,000, it's like of course it's gonna.
The low end of the scale here is $4,000, and the nicest one is $22,000. That's probably like a 0 mileage, no rust, perfect.
Yeah. There was a.
I would encourage people to buy the nicest one they can afford.
I mean, right now, especially right for that price point, it's might as well. Dude, I saw a green Beat, the teal, like my old Civic Si, that's Aztec green, and it looks so fucking good. It's in SoCal, and it's at one of these. I want to say it's like, what is that? What is that one in San Diego? A really high end consignment place.
Symbolic.
I think it was in there, dude, and they wanted a lot of money for it, but a Beat's cool looking. It's really cool, and they drive well. They're just extremely slow, and but in that color, I had never seen one. It looked amazing, and they wanted like 30 G's for it. So not happening. But
Jesus,
do you ever see a cappuccino like really being worth 30 G's?
Yeah,
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think a really good example.
Yeah, and just like there's always like the rare models and the colors and all that kind of stuff.
Dude, and like perfect condition.
The dollar per horsepower ratio is on point at 30K.
Yeah, you can turn it up to 90, man.
But also we're
the few.
if like our enthusiast cars are, which I see them all going back to sense of occasion more than like power or performance,
right?
And that's a lot of sense of occasion.
Like dailies are all about performance now, and they're so fast, and you can't like chase that dragon anymore. So it's like, what is your fun car going to do for you? It's like top down, turbocharged, super tiny, cute. Yeah. I mean, although I don't think they're that cute because they're kind of ugly, but
other people.
But you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many things there. So if your difference is like, let's say like 10 for like a decent one or 22 for a perfect one, try and scrape together that 22, and you're gonna appreciate more with that one than you are with the cheap one. Right, you're gonna be one of very few that are in perfect condition, as opposed to like, most of them are gonna be in that lower category.
But I think it's safe to say that all of these, no matter what cappuccino you get, is a safe place to put your money. Like, I don't think you're going to lose money on one of these K cars, especially like the three we mentioned.
A lot of this stuff too, because it's just becoming importable right now. So like it's that you got to get in early, like otherwise, like my Skyline is, I mean, it's common knowledge. You look around, it's appreciated like 20 grand since I bought it in March of last year.
Which is so funny because like crazy. We saw the R32 go through this same thing. So like anyone that wanted one, they could just look at it and be like, yeah, that's obviously going to happen.
Right. Yeah. That's why I was chomping at the bit. As soon as it was an option, like, dude, like, you got to jump on this stuff early.
But I think it's because people were all pining for the R34.
I think the 4s,
and they forgot about the 3, dude.
Right,
and they like kind of
right?
like were hating on it. And then, I think the 3 kind of was like this weird. It was in this weird spot.
Yeah,
and now all of a sudden it's appreciated.
Yeah, and R34s are already crazy money even without being importable. And there's that whole system where people are storing them overseas.
Yeah, we're in the final countdown right now. You're out from first import. Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Although we're already seeing them. Yeah. Like every Radwood and stuff. Yeah.
All All right, next up, 1968 to 1970 AMC AMX.
This one has me like, I'm kind of like weirded out by it.
Weirded out.
So this has there's some DWA roots here. Is that the car that Brian sent us to do Lemons racing was a Javelin.
Yeah.
And that was a very strange choice, but it didn't come to fruition. We ended up with a 944. But
It's sold.
yeah.
Yeah. And what do they have? Like a 305 or something?
Yeah, I think so. And it wasn't very expensive. What was it? $8,000, $6,000 maybe?
The one he sent us?
Yeah.
No, it was like $500, dude.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of a different car.
I mean, that's the
Later.
lemon.
Because it was
Later in
lemon
life.
style.
Yeah. But I thought there was something about it.
It might have
Anyways.
been 800 and we were trying to get it for 500 or something
Right.
like that. Or it was 1200 and we were going to get it.
Maybe
we're
that was
hoping
it.
we can get it for 5.
Right.
Dude.
It's just
Yeah,
it's
it was
crazy
right
to think
there.
of this kind of shit. Like so, on a related note, like when when Ruben and I started the Lemons team for GoPro, we were looking for cars and we found a 928. It was an early 928, like an 80 or 79, BBS RS wheels, black on black, manual. And it had like a leaking head gasket, and the guy wanted $400 with the wheels, and we turned it down. We're like, dude, we just can't do the fucking head gasket. It's too much work. Like, and it was a nice car. Like, it was totally straight, garage kept. It was out in the outer Richmond in San Francisco. The guy had it since like the late 80s, and he was just done. He was like, dude, I'm never use this car, and we turned it down.
Yeah, I mean, I bought mine. I bought mine for $2,700, and it was like a
Good car.
full records, good car.
Yeah, didn't you just say like they had spent like $1,500 on the AC or something?
More than that, it was like $3,000, dude. And they rebuilt the tranny, and it had every record since new.
Yeah,
It was. I bought off the second owner. So, yeah,
That's
it was
wild.
crazy.
So back to this work of art, the AMC AMX. So this is they claim it's the only 2-seat muscle car ever made because the Corvette doesn't count.
Camaros don't count.
Those
two-seat.
have a back seat.
Oh,
So-
2-seat.
2, less than 4.
Well, yeah, I guess.
But
half of them, right?
they cut 12 inches out of a Javelin to make the AMX, and it was based on a Vignale show car. So there's some elements there, like you look at it and it kind of like if you squint and it sort of
Dude,
has a little
they're
Italian.
kind of cool,
I think
but
they're super cool. Like
the one
I
in the
love how tight-
pictures is that's
Well,
like
the
the
color and
worst
all that
color.
stuff.
And
You don't like that?
everything. No,
For a 70, like that seems so.
It doesn't bother me, but I think
I'd
there's
want
cooler.
like a dark
Green or
metallic
something.
There's
green.
blues too
Yeah.
that were really nice.
I think they had a really good green.
That doesn't
I would
bother me
go for
though.
that.
It's like kind of a root beery.
I just
With
love
the
how
stripes, dude.
The stripes not
how
my favorite.
tidy, like all of the
There's
feet, like
very
the,
little
it's
detail,
just,
right?
They're so tight. Like the bumpers are really close to the
Yeah.
body. I've always liked the way they looked. I love the taillight.
Kind of like split bumper 70.
Right.
You
And
know,
the
like
tail, the little cam tail kind of looking thing.
Yeah, they're
and
definitely really cool.
Yeah, they're
looking.
not horrible. I just and I think they're kind of cool, but I question I don't understand why they're going up in value.
Well, I think because
Is it because they were so low, and then
that helps, and also because I think they're pretty rare. It's only a 2-year car,
Yeah,
and they're just. I don't think they sold well. They were like the 4th American option by a long shot. Like it was the big 3, and then like AMC was like way down there, and this was their Halo, like top of the line car.
I mean, it just seems like with the right mods, it would be kind of a fun driver's car too, because it's got the short wheelbase and a big motor, and like with a manual. Like I feel like it would be a fun car to drive, right?
well, I mean, Canepa like whoops it up.
He's
in
got
that
one, right?
Javelin.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a
which is the
Javelin.
Yeah.
with the 4-seater version
Yeah.
of this. So it's
Yeah.
got the longer wheelbase.
It'd be a refreshing resto mod take.
Yeah,
yeah.
You see,
I mean, better than right. It's like that's probably why they're going up in value. It's
Cooler
like,
than a Camaro or Mustang.
Mustang,
right?
Camaro.
It
Absolutely.
stands out, right? That's the thing. But yeah, it's
I was surprised to see it on the list because it seems like that
very
might have been a
boomer.
few years ago. But if it missed that bump and it's coming back around because of resto modding and like people that are putting money into these things, I don't mind it. I think it's a cool
I don't mind
choice.
either.
Maybe it is like the fact that it is so small and it's more like European-esque in that way, and
Yeah.
the styling like you were talking about. So yeah, maybe that has something to do with it. That it is like the least American, maybe, and
Well-
it doesn't. It's not tied to the bow tie or
It's
the
a little
the
exotic.
Ford.
It's a little exotic, however you want
It
to.
is, yeah. But also I feel like it's like the tide has risen and fallen on the rest of it, and this is the last to do something, and so it's got to go somewhere, right? Like it's limited production. There's only so many out there, so like it's gonna do something, right? Whereas you've had every single Dodge Dart do its thing, every single Mustang, every single Chevelle, all that. So it's almost like the end of.
I've
the
always
line.
liked darts, by the way.
Darts
Dude. The
are
early
cool.
ones are so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'm a fan of the early.
Well,
cars.
no, not that early, like 62 or whatever.
No, not that early.
But
Yep.
yeah, the late 60s.
Late 60s. Yeah. Those are
Scat
so
packs and stuff.
yeah, they're really cool.
Little scat pack.
Yeah.
$52,800 for the nicest one, down to $13,500 for a entry level AMX. Pretty cool.
It's cool.
All right, next one. 2004 to 2010 Mercedes SLR McLaren.
Ooh, Lane's favorite.
This is a Gordon Murray car that
A
was
Gordon Murray reject.
compromised from the beginning, and he had to make concessions in order to get it to production.
They famously pulled the rug on him on that one, didn't they?
I mean, it was just a battle the whole way.
Yeah, like he wanted a mid-engine car, right?
Yeah, and then they
Yep.
previewed it.
Oh, and he wanted a lightweight car, and they're like, nah.
And they're like, no, we want leather. But it is mid-engine, technically.
Front midship.
Yeah.
It's I mean, conceptually, I think it's interesting, right? It is very exotic, right? It's got a carbon fiber tub and like it's all that kind of cool stuff.
It's
but-
exotic in its materials, but not in its like presentation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
If-
it's
if
got a
that
lot of
makes
presence
sense.
though. It's like very Batmobile, like it's got like
It does.
But it's not very. It like the.
You know,
It doesn't sound crazy. The transmission is pedestrian at best. The interior is straight up SL. It doesn't like it. The most ostentatious thing about it is like the fact that it looks like Ace and Gary's Penismobile.
yeah, it does.
the one thing that's always bothered me
It's
about
phallic.
these cars, and it's like not a big deal, is the taillights have the weirdest design element to it. It has
they're
this
cool.
strange, like almost like a rector set bar in this smooth housing. You know what I mean? Like
I know, but you also don't like E46 LED taillights, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's
Just
got that
doesn't
same
match.
vibe.
This doesn't match the overall.
It was trying to
flow.
be modern, which is putting
trying to be
little
like
lights,
mechanical in some ways, but I've always liked these cars. I think they're
Yeah, I know Lane's
badass.
driven them, so like it sounds like it doesn't live up to the.
I mean, talk to anyone that's driven one. They did really well around the Top Gear test track or whatever,
Yeah.
like at full boil. But
well,
like,
but it's like it's not. But the driving is part like how
They
you
have
like,
no-
the experience.
they're
itself
like-
is like
the steering's
I just-
not good. The brakes suck.
So the transmission's
transmission's horrible. I mean, there's nothing like redeeming about.
I wouldn't say the transmission's horrible. It's
Oh,
just not.
It's like the CLK Black Series.
Yeah.
but not as good.
It's just a full GT with like exotic underpinnings. So
I-
it's like the baddest GT
Yeah,
Mercedes
but
Benz could
it
build.
has the thing. It's like a 5-speed. So it does. It has no like punchy, like no. It has none of that like rawness that you want from your supercar. None of that
Yeah.
like that quickness. It's like it's torque converter transmission. It's very like.
I think we'd all agree that you would want a manual with this level of car, but if you already have the track weapon and then you want to drive this thing, across the country,
yeah.
this would be a great car to do that. And Harry's
not
garage borrowed one for a trip all through Wales with his wife, and he said he like raved about it. He said it was great for that.
The car
trip.
has a stigma.
By the way, the
For
one
sure.
that he drove was like a modified one.
It was
too.
just the McLaren MSO version, which had like some details, but like otherwise, it was underpinnings were the same, and it had like he said it had great brakes and was super comfortable.
No, it was the fully modified one by that company. That it's like
It's the McLaren MSO. They basically just like had a late edition that they did some modifications to, but it wasn't like it was basically the same overall car.
When I remember I was in high school when this car came out, so like all the magazines and all the early shows were.
It was
showing
this
car.
and the Carrera GT.
It was dubbed like the like old man car.
Yeah.
It was like the old man
Well, that's what
supercar.
I'm saying.
GT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a different thing, right? Like it's not supposed. Well, I don't know if it was supposed to. That's the wrong word because it was supposed to be something else, but it didn't. It was supposed to be a Gordon Murray-esque thing, but it became this more of like Mercedes GT, like high performance thing. It'll do 200 miles an hour, whatever. But it's like it does have presence, and I like it for that. I think that they are still what are they like? 250 grand these days, 300 grand. I have no idea how much they go for.
Yeah. So 200 is the bottom, and then up to 430 for like a perfect one. And I don't know if
wonder
this
how much room.
includes
Yeah, does this include the
I don't know if this includes
the 197 or
the
whatever,
722 or
yeah.
the convertibles, but obviously top of the line is going to be a 722
Yeah.
cab, and they made over 2,000, 2157.
So have you driven one, Warren?
I drove one in a parking lot. We
So
serviced
how do you know
one.
the transmission's good?
Oh, just on reviews.
Okay,
People
well I've
talking
driven
about it.
one around quite a bit. So
And you just can't live with it?
it just was not. It literally was like so boring to drive.
I mean, I've driven a lot of SL600s, or 65s,
Yeah.
which I think are like, it's the same transmission, really.
Yeah.
And it does the job perfectly.
but
It's
not
like,
in a supercar. It's so weird, dude.
See, that's funny. I don't even think of it as like a supercar.
But it is. It was like
because
it was,
there's no doubt we would all pick a Carrera GT like from the period.
I think that you throw stuff in the water and it raises the ships or whatever. That's where we're at with these because they were so cheap for so long and they still kind of are, right? If you're looking at like the bottom is $200K, then obviously that's pretty like this will get you into a lot of places.
Like Camisa put it perfectly in the article. He said it's a European Viper. It's
That makes
basically
sense.
you sit back on the rear axle.
Yeah.
It's got a big powerful motor, barking exhaust right outside your window. It's a cool option.
So they do not include the 722. The 722S sold for 1.5, or one of them, sorry, sold for 1.5 with 1,400 miles on it.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch that have sold.
There's probably only like 20 of those or something like that or less.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're very rare. Yeah.
So yeah, 300, 400,
But an
450,
SLR Roadster,
something else.
I don't know. That's a really cool option for.
I've only driven the Roadster.
Yeah.
By the way, we had one at our shop for like 9 months. So,
But you're not into penis
and
cars
it was
anyways, though, in general.
and then it got a Mansory body kit.
Ooh, that's hot.
And then it got a tune by full Rentec tech build.
Wow.
So like all the shit, it was sent to Florida
After you had it, or if
Were you at
when we had it,
Oh,
and then
okay.
it came back. Yeah,
You were at MA at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it had all the Rentec stuff, and then so it's Mansory body kit with all the Rentec stuff.
there's other stuff that's bothering you here, I think. You got
No. I'm just like, I mean, this is, and then but we had it the whole time.
You sent it out, you got it back.
Yeah,
all that,
yeah.
gotcha,
And then it was just it was one of those cars that was like, it didn't feel exotic enough. Like we had it in our garage for like 9 months, and I walked by it every day, and I'd have to walk by, and it never was like, oh man, that thing is so sick. It never felt like that special having it. It just felt like having a nice SL65 or something like an AMG in our garage, but it didn't feel like anything more than that. Like I had to move it all the time, and and be like, okay, I gotta get in this thing. It was like it didn't have that. You didn't get those like fizzies. But you know what I'm saying though. When you start a Ferrari or something and it's like comes to life and it sounds amazing, or even a Lamborghini or all these things. This thing had none of that. And then you go to replace the battery, and it's like a 3-hour job because you have to take everything apart. But what I'm saying?
That's like, you can't fault any car at this level for that. They're all like that.
No, but my point is that it didn't give you all the other stuff, and then it still had all the shortcomings of a supercar.
I think the presence, like Art's talking about, it just has a presence to it. And for some people, that doesn't matter much, and maybe it's.
I guess
not a
I'm
factor.
saying it lacked the presence, though.
For
Is
you,
what I'm
it did.
saying, because I think you park an SL65 AMG next to it. I mean, I think the SL is a prettier car.
Yeah.
They didn't come in interesting colors either. They were black and gray.
silver,
Blue.
yeah.
Because the Carrera had like a beautiful blue and
Dude,
Yeah.
the first time
cool
I
stuff.
saw one was in San Francisco. It was brand new, and I ran across a Van Ness to see it. It was in front of the Opera House, and it was just parked there with the windows down, and that's not the greatest neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, holy shit! And I remember doing a full walk around, and I mean, when it was brand new, and it has a very bright silver too, like in those wheels, and it actually made an impression on me.
I like the wheels.
It
They're
was
kinda cool.
It's a cool looking car, but I mean, it's compared to what's out there, and again, we're talking about these cars that have been.
But there
quiet
we're
for a while.
comparing it to like Carrera GT, which is like $1.5 million now.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
So if you're
that's
looking at
contemporary,
like
though.
that's the whole thing. It's like it's like a cheap car for what
It is.
it is right now.
For the technology in it, and what the provenance, I guess.
And if you're
it has.
comparing LFA, it was around the same time, a little later,
Yep.
a couple years later, but
like,
around the
I
same.
would almost compare it to like a 177 in that it's a just a big GT looking thing. Carrera GT is on a whole different plane. In fact, they keep referencing it in comparison to this car and the Murcielago, which we'll get to. But since 2019, the Carrera GT has doubled in value, and these are like just barely starting to go up.
Back then, Carrera GT and this were around the same price. Like
600.
no,
seven-
we're talking
seven-ish.
like
300 grand.
Sticker, right?
300 grand.
Yeah,
And
it's sticker.
19?
No, sorry. Back when I was
Oh.
when I had it, when
Oh,
we
yeah,
had
yeah.
it.
I'm
So
talking
it was
about
like
just pre-COVID.
It was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
So we had like Carrera GTs were like 280, 300.
Yeah.
These were
Right
I don't
there.
know, right there, 250 or something.
And we
like
always
that.
we've said since the get-go that the Carrera GT was a great
Undervalued,
buy.
yeah.
And so it has risen a lot, and this still has a lot of room. So
It
I think
does.
there's that. All right. 1984 to 1988 Toyota pickup 4x4 SR5. How are we feeling about the old Toyota pickup SR5?
I'm surprised they have enough room.
I do too.
Dude, because I feel like they've already popped. I
Maybe
feel like
that's
that was
just
one of
maybe
those.
it's a Northern California thing that we've seen this trend. We were at the forefront of it, basically.
Yeah.
And I think it's only gotten crazier across the nation.
And do you kind of think that we might even have it? They're easier to come by for us, even, and it's even more expensive and harder to come by, like on the East Coast or something.
Yeah, but
Rarer,
the only
right?
The only problem is that here there's a way larger audience interested in them in this area. We've been around them longer. We're more familiar with them. They're just like more commonplace.
But we actually have them.
We actually have them.
Yeah.
But there's just so many people that want them. So it's interesting. It's like they're more common, but there's also way more people that are interested in them. So I think if you're out in like, if someone for whatever reason has one in Texas that in a little town that no one, is really into Toyotas, you have a better chance of maybe scoring.
It's just an old truck. Yeah.
Just an old truck. But that's the problem with these. It goes
And
back
then
to
in
that
New
Saab.
England, they don't even exist
No.
because these things rusted out after
Yeah,
big
but
time.
they're popping
few
up. I
years.
mean, now that everything's sold on the web. I mean, especially
Yeah,
on the auction
global
sites,
market,
like it's
whatever.
like it's very obvious. You have these crazy outliers now, especially like on VAT, right, where they're like 50, 60 grand. So, and that's definitely made a big impact. And so now everyone's scrambling, but yeah, I mean, I agree. They're already expensive, right? I mean, but it's crazy to think that they're going to go even higher than where they are. But it's a very specific thing, right? It's like it's an aesthetic thing. Everybody likes the way they look, and then there's also like the one right year that's got the stick axle up front instead of like IRS, and and those are even more sought after. So I can see it becoming sort of like the FJ kind of thing. Like, how we had Larry was shooting, what was it, the FJ company?
Yeah.
Like that type of thing where people basically singerize these things, and because they like the aesthetic, and yes, they're capable, but you can put in the whatever swap in it and then just choose all your colors and materials, and even more so the Forerunners, right? I feel like that's where we're heading with these, which is wild, but
they sold 1.5 million of these trucks in North America. So they were a lot of them, but they just didn't survive, and they weren't really like cherished. Like the Saab, going back to the Saabs and Volvos,
people put like
they were
500,000 miles
Yeah.
on them, and then they
multiple engines.
they burned them to the ground or
Pretty,
whatever.
pretty much, yeah. So yeah, finding nice ones is rare. Finding non-rusty, perfect.
And they mention it,
trucks.
and I think that has a lot to do with it too. There's been a few like really high sales,
Yeah.
So you have like the back of the Vutur builds and stuff
those
like
are
that.
the ones,
and,
yeah.
It's been a meme.
$70,000 trucks and stuff,
Yeah.
which definitely like sway the
That's so
what's
crazy.
happening.
It's like a well-known meme now. I'd rather take Marty's truck over Doc's DeLorean. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing. Like people are kind of shifting focus.
I always
felt
have,
that way.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like the DeLorean's good to look at, but it's like known to be a horrible car, right?
What's the sense of occasion like in one of those things?
The truck?
Yeah.
They're
I think it's
terrible.
Oh, you don't think they
just
have good?
trucks.
They have a
Well-
sense of occasion though.
Not really. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, like my Mighty Max did that same level,
but more if you have the all-wheel, if you have the four-wheel drive, and you have like kind of a little more. I mean, imagine a perfect one.
But I'm trying to think of like, okay,
it's the
like
same-
if it's the perfect Mighty Max with a lift and
So
all
you're
the
not
stuff,
you're not looking
identical.
back at your
Yeah.
Mighty Max. You're looking back at
No,
the
I was
Toyota,
looking
though.
back at my Mighty Max
Stop.
all the time.
dude, I don't know, man. I think you got a point, Warren.
It's the same thing
because it's kind of like that pristine Ram that comes to our shows,
Yes.
right? And it's like you put a lift kit on that with a manual, like it's pretty similar, right? Like,
Identical.
It's like just like the thin A pillars.
Okay,
good
I would say
visibility.
no, but if like I would say a Nissan 4x4 with some cool like stripe package would definitely be on par with that. Or
Well, that being said, though,
But then-
I'm not saying that isn't a bad. I think that also has sense of occasion. Like I think it's.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's. I think the Mighty Max, because we've talked about it. Like it's got short gearing and you're going through the gears and it doesn't have a lot of power, but you got that super 80s square dash and you got the visibility and like you can maybe with the lift kit you kind of climb into it a little bit.
I
Like,
think
it's cool.
I think this is all about your perception of the experience, because once you're in it, driving it, it
sucks,
It's,
yeah.
it's
It's
but
a truck,
looking
right?
back at it, or just that theory, like, okay, it's got it's super reliable, which isn't actually true, and it can go anywhere. Not really, but it also is really fuel efficient compared to
Not
other,
really.
Not really.
it's fun to drive.
Easy to work on.
I think it's mostly an aesthetic thing, right?
I think it's an
like-
aesthetic
yeah,
thing, and it's the
it's
van
a-
life phenomenon where you have this in your mind of like, I just need to get that truck, and then I'm going to be able to.
I will say that parts are still
Yes,
available
that's
as
big.
opposed to like a Mighty Max
Way
or a
better.
Nissan
Way,
or
way
a,
better.
or even a
Isuzu.
Nissan hardbody or something.
Isuzu, Mitsubishi, all those parts are
Nostalgia.
hard.
A lot of
But it's
nostalgia.
But it's all
huge
nostalgia. And
Yeah.
and people like the way they look. They look rad. This one
look
has the
super
graphics
cool.
package with the
Totally.
the stripes on the side.
More
and
graphics,
everything.
the better, and that goes for the next generation, which is the more rounded off. And
Yep.
really, if you're looking at future collectibles, it's first gen Tundra is where you want to be.
yeah.
Like maybe a special
Ivan
edition.
Stewart, maybe?
a special edition.
Maybe
I don't-
Iron Man, Iron
you know,
Student.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all kind of suck to drive. You're right. But I do think the old ones with the squared off dash and stuff, maybe that isn't this a nostalgia thing.
It is a
though. It's
nostalgia
like,
thing.
I would rather be in that than like a 90s Tacoma, like a
Yes.
late 90s Tacoma.
I agree with you.
Where they both suck
Yeah.
and they're both like awful. Don't drive them in the rain because they.
I think
horrible.
the sweet spot is between the Tacoma and this, which is the more rounded off pickup.
the-
Oh,
Those are nice.
like an
Yeah.
89 through 95.
Dude,
Exactly.
those are
Or
super
whatever,
cool.
yeah.
94
I have a
or
very
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those
They have graphics. They had a more rounded dash, but it was still super simple. They
I
actually
like-
drove better. They
But I
had
mean, I
better
think they're
interior.
all cool. I actually really like the late 70s, early 80s ones with the round
Those are
headlights
cool.
with the like
Oh,
the slight
With the
dip in
slit, I love
those
that.
are so
Then you're
cool.
back to
Sloped
carbureted.
nose.
I mean,
So
but
it's
you
like-
can swap
But
it
you
out.
could you can
30 minutes.
Swap it
Swap
out.
it out.
I mean that would be
Yeah.
a cool retro. What is it called?
Retro mod.
Retro mod. Resto mod.
What are we
Yeah, that
calling
one.
it?
Resto modding that thing would be sick. But then you're
Rad mod or
but then you're
something.
stuck
Rad mod.
having to smog a 79 car.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's not. This is a different thing, right? Where it's like you take all the. It's not about the comfort. It's not about the handling. It's just about like the experience overall of just like this old truck, right? And like. And it
It's a
looks
tool.
super rad, and you
It's
know,
like-
and it is about parking out in front of the coffee shop while you're having your coffee and checking it out, you
Yeah,
know, because
yeah.
it's fucking cool.
But that's
Yeah.
what you're kind of talking about, like sense of occasion, right? So
That
it's
is
like
that.
how much enjoyment do you get driving it to the coffee shop?
None.
I think quite a bit. It's arm
I
on the
think you get a
fucking
little
sill,
bit.
dude.
Little bit,
like
but
you're-
not
everyone's
compared to-
everyone's
If it's
giving you a
like
thumbs
perfect
up.
condition and you're
not
stoked
done.
No,
on
I think
it,
I think that wears off. I think the sense of occasion
Nah.
comes from looking at the car and having everyone walk by and say that's
Yeah, I think
that's
that-
a rad
but,
truck.
but these look great.
Yeah,
They
that's
look
it. It's
good, but-
it's the looks.
But I think
Yeah.
in between your garage and the coffee shop,
Yeah.
you're just
No,
getting
but
there.
that's what you're doing. You're going to the coffee shop. You're parking it out front.
Maybe
you're
even
looking
with two
at
wheels
it.
on the curb, yeah.
oh, there you go.
I mean,
Just-
I think also that it's, I don't know. I don't know shit about off-roading, but I mean, just like, I think like the challenge is maybe a thing too, right? Like because it's not as capable. So people like to do that,
yeah,
right?
but
Like,
if
where
it's
like,
super clean now,
it's like
you're
proving
like,
that
are
you
really
can
gonna
do
go?
it with this old rig when people are showing up in fancy stuff.
live axles rule, bro.
Live axles.
But then, yeah,
$6,600 up to $34,800 for a perfect 1984 through 88
with
Toyota
a bunch
pickup.
of outliers.
Oh yeah. So there's going to be
So 20-ish, basically,
obviously-
for like a decent driver now.
But there's also been cars that sold for 70 and
Yeah.
perfect
whatever.
restorations. Yeah, they'll go for 40, 50 easy. So
So
All
they're
right.
kind of throwing out the bottom and the top.
Right.
moving on, 2001 to 2010, Lamborghini Murcielago.
Dude, these have done
Or
a lot.
Murcielago.
These have like gone way up already.
Yeah.
So
But
this
I'm a big fan of these. I've been quietly. I think we've talked about it before a little bit. I think they're super rad and they've been pretty quiet, especially a
They
manual
look cool,
V12.
yeah.
I think they're pretty timeless. Like I mean, they're obviously very 2000s, but they didn't go crazy with the design. They're pretty simple. They got the polygonal kind of stuff going on, and like those little bat wings are super cool.
Yeah.
And manual V12 mid-engine. That sounds
it's
incredible.
Quite a package. It's
Yeah.
just
It's a big dope truck.
It's a lifestyle choice too. You're definitely got to be.
I don't
ready
know about
for that.
Mercies though. I think it's gone beyond that because
It
the
used to
person,
be.
It used to be. It was
No.
like an Aventador, I feel, but the Aventador people are now in Aventadors, right?
No, I
So,
get
like,
that,
they've
but I
moved
think
on.
to the lay person,
Yeah.
when this car drives
Oh,
by,
yeah.
it is the
Yeah.
most ostentatious,
Yeah,
loud,
Oh, for sure.
crazy
you got a
thing.
Lamborghini Mercy.
But also,
that's
but
a wrap
actually,
song.
Yo, bitch, she's so thirsty.
Exactly.
if you actually look at the design, it's pretty constrained.
I
Oh,
like
no,
it.
no,
clean.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying, yeah.
totally feel that
Yeah,
way
yeah.
now, looking back at it, especially compared to an Aventador.
Yeah.
And basically everything that's come after it, it's very subdued.
Yeah.
In some ways, but we're still talking about a V12.
And it's
Yep.
huge. It has a lot of
Huge.
presence, right?
A lot of
Yeah,
presence.
but I think it's definitely like if you don't give a shit about that, like if it's just about you, right, and about having an experience with a car, like I think in a vacuum, yeah, they're super rad. But I agree, like of course you can't go down driving down Los Gatos, like like downtown. Everyone's like this is
Santa Cruz or whatever,
Yeah.
like they would just burn you at the stake.
yeah,
or like,
but they're super cool cars, and I think they deserve to appreciate.
And this is like the last of the pre-Audi cars,
yep.
basically pre-Volkswagen badge group.
no, this is
a first gen.
2001.
First
so
gen,
This
2001?
is like pre them like being fully involved, like
because
Gallardo.
actually,
like this
yeah.
has the V12.
Well, this one they're talking about the
They were involved.
LP640, and they were fully involved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
LP640 is way late.
yeah, but that's what this is.
2001 they came out. It's 2001 through
Yeah.
2010.
But Audi bought Audi bought Lamborghini in '99.
right,
and they
because
didn't-
the
they
Diablo
didn't-
VT was a,
Right.
was
And,
an Audi.
Audi didn't become like really that.
Yeah.
The first car that they fully developed was the Gallardo.
Yeah,
So this is pre that. So they had
Right.
already had this thing like being
This is
developed
involved,
and everything.
but yeah.
So if you go in this car, like you pull apart the interior of this thing, it's very like handmade, very old school, like Lamborghini.
but I thought this did have some of the drivetrain Audi bits in
Like what?
LP640.
It has V12.
Cooling system stuff.
No, I thought for something about it was already Audi inspired. Maybe the second facelift Murcielago.
I mean, sure. Yeah, the 640 would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this one. This one features the 640, but
Well,
I can't remember
it says 2001 through 2010.
the whole range.
Yeah,
right?
it's a whole
Yeah.
range. So
But
640.
they were very they were just very bespoke. Like they didn't have like a real. They had an FVD. It's called a steering. Like the steering wheel is just
The
brand
classic, it's
FVD.
that 3-spoke.
It's like the classic 3-spoke that every
Didn't
car
Aston's have them
company.
too?
Aston did it. Roof. Like
yeah.
every car company that wasn't a real car company would buy these FVD wheels.
Yeah.
And they're literally the same on all the cars. And it just had a lot of bits like that. And like the way, like I've taken these interiors apart and stuff. And like the way the dashes went together was like exposed screws and stuff. There's a lot more of that
it's very
kind of
kit
stuff.
car-esque in
Yeah.
some ways, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and with the interior.
Where
stuff.
when Gallardo came along, it was like, oh, this is like a real car. Like this is like a real freaking car.
Germanic
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Which makes them kind of cool.
yeah,
But also makes them kind of crap.
Yeah, they're
I'm,
shitty, for sure.
I'm curious though, because that era for VW wasn't the greatest interior ever. I mean, in terms of like fire retardant and like other materials that were coming off panels and like headliners. But the biggest thing was if VW Audi did touch that car, when did they touch it? Because they could smell like crayons. I don't
like
want my
crayons,
supercar smelling like a crayon.
I think you're a little. That's a little early. The crayon stuff. or
05 was the last crayon year. I had an 05 GLI, and that boy
Oh.
smelled
Saying
like Crayolas, baby.
What do you
Yeah.
think?
whatever. So Mark IV.
Yeah, Mark IVs. So that was 05 was the
I've
final
never
Mark IV.
experienced the crayon thing. I've just heard it. I've heard Farrah talk about it.
If you've had
or
an
something.
outdoor parked car in a warm climate, it smells like crayon.
But I like
Yeah.
But
I like
but
that
Mark
stuff.
IVs are known for the interior was like raise the game, right?
Yeah.
Like the switch gear and all that stuff.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. B5, same era.
yeah, all the buttons had the nice click and the handles had the nice smooth
Slow,
back.
yeah.
They were like no one else had done that yet.
Yeah.
so less than 25 manual LP640s came
That's
here.
crazy.
Wow.
So very
Well,
rare
those are gonna be
car.
big money for sure.
And values $191,000 up to $382,000, and I have to imagine that's for an LP640 manual. But that's a rad car. I mean, V12
Yeah.
strapped to your back, manual transmission, crazy sounds.
It's the epitome of sense of occasion, right? Like
It's
that's what we talk about.
pretty
Like,
high
it's-
up there,
yeah.
although it's heavy and bigger than you might want.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a tight, twisty mountain road car, but it's like.
So then that's like
but
the
it's-
sense of occasion thing. Like, do you get more sense of occasion out of an Elise or a Murcielago?
Oh, mercy, because you can just put it in first gear and then just
I'd say Mercy, dude.
get to red line. And then
I mean,
go.
I know that, but I'm just saying you're not feeling as much through it. It's
Definitely not.
a bigger
Yeah,
boy.
I mean, but at least is extreme, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
like the raw.
They are. Have you guys driven them?
no.
No, I still haven't driven.
Okay, I've never driven them with like speed or anything, but
Yeah.
I've driven around the neighborhood and stuff. Very they're very dump truck like.
Oh,
But visibility is horrible, right?
Visibility is horrible, and they're very they just feel very heavy.
it's a
And
big-
like they
big
have a
car.
little tiny steering wheel, that FVD wheel, and they feel very like, and they're very like, you know how the 928 feels kind of, it has that like, that shifter's like really stiff and everything. It kind of has that, like all the controls are pretty like, you know, you have
it's
to
almost muscly kind of muscle car.
It's very muscle car.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. That's all sense of occasion in a different way, right? Also. And like, I think like maybe at speed that all kind of comes together in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, I remember, in the early 2000s, when Top Gear did a head to head with a Mitsubishi Evo versus this on track. And, I think the Stig was in the Evo and like Clarkson or May was in the Mercy. And the Evo actually ended up winning, like on the track, like it passed them, and it was like, oh, you know, you don't need to have a supercar to get to blah blah. But I mean, like that's not the point, right? I feel like with a car like this, it's like there's a lot of theater with like the mechanicals and like all the other things, and aesthetically, obviously, the way it looks and all that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's definitely not last of. I mean, there's some that came after, but
it's like the
a rare
opposite
breed.
of like a 355 or 360, you know, something like that,
which
where
is
it's
like
more
a
like
nimble little-
delicate.
yeah,
and you
yeah,
have like everything's
yeah.
like,
Right. So sense of occasion, right? It's like, where does
different
that
kind
factor
of
in?
sense of occasion. Yeah.
I kind of see like a 993 counterpart because it's going to get taken over by VW Audi Group. You're going to have an entire like insulated car in the next generation. You kind of have like a last of the takeover.
You mean
for
like water cooled versus air
Yeah,
cooled?
just like an era change, you know, just in terms of its acquisition by VW.
It is definitely that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Diablo's even further on that spectrum of just this raw, special bulldog.
And this one is probably in a good place though, where like they were trying to make a better car. Like VW did come in to make this car a little better, and they made it a little more reliable and all that stuff. Where the Diablos are like tough, kind of, and then Aventadors are really good, but they don't have like the theater.
Yeah. So value wise, I mean, it does feel, especially if you get an LP640 manual, that there's a lot of room there.
What was the value of these?
382 was the top.
I feel like I've seen them at like 700 or something.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, the manuals have to be a very rare thing. All right, next up, 2003 to 2008 Nissan 350Z. Thoughts?
Been waiting on this to happen.
Yeah,
for a long time.
There's a lot.
Dude, it's straight up. It's like young people owned them. They thrashed them. They destroyed them. They modded them. Try and find one that's not modded. That car, that low mileage garage queen that's owned by some boomer.
You don't think there's a lot of those though, don't you think?
I don't think
there's
so.
enough to where there's enough that you can find them, but they're going to be worth a lot of money now.
I guess so.
That's what's happening.
And that's what's happening. Like they're just, and there's a drift tax now. Like a lot of them are being killed off because they're being built into drift cars.
This is the one car on the list where I have like zero interest in.
But when you look at it as like a performance bargain, right? Like you could pick them up for what, $6,000 all day long for a while, a minute there. 300 horsepower manual transmission, like rear wheel drive.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I get it on paper for sure, but
sound like shit.
It was funny. I was thinking about
Look
this.
like shit.
We
Awful visibility.
Never liked the way they look.
Never had one on a rally, which is such a weird thing to me because of everything you just stated.
Yeah.
It's like they're easy to get. They're super,
300 horsepower, rear wheel drive.
Manual.
It's a 996 basically.
Nissans are like very popular.
It's a personality thing. I think it's the type of person that would normally buy it.
We don't have anyone on our rallies that has frosted tips.
But we also have people who bring
I'm looking at
Mustangs.
Dante right now, dude.
Like shit, does he? Puka shells, or what are
Very,
we looking at?
very frosty.
Dude, I think it makes sense. Yeah, like everything Elaine's saying. It's like it's the 240SX situation all over again, right? It's the 240SX was an option for people to build the drift car, the track car for cheap, and now those are impossible. Those are completely gone.
Right.
Like it's impossible to see. You never ever see a clean stock one, and if you do, they're money. And now it's jumping to this. This is a better platform. It's the same concept. You can do. There's a huge aftermarket.
Man.
It's not our crowd, but it makes sense, right? Like,
That's the point too. Huge aftermarket.
Yeah,
Crazy.
But
VQ everything.
huge support, like pretty easy to find parts, cheap to find parts. But
Have you looked at the spec sheet? It's like the worst blind date ever. It's like everything nails it, and then you look at it, and you open the door, you're like,
you mean
whoa,
looking
dude.
at it? Dude,
The specs are amazing on it.
I know, man.
You have that little cover for the radio.
Oh
that's all
God,
like
the
plastic.
fake aluminum. Have you seen the rear seat? They have a sub in the rear seat with a big Z on it
So
and these
bad.
big fake metal. But
I've
it's like
never
it's garbage.
ever liked them, dude. I can't believe people think they're cool. I think a 370 is an improvement, and I was
Yeah.
surprised that they were lighter.
Yeah.
And a 370 Nismo is actually super rad looking. It's basically the same car, really. I mean, in terms of, but it is a little bit lighter.
It was seam welded.
Yeah, those are rad.
I'll go-
I mean,
Nismos are the closest thing to
they're
Type
cool,
R.
man.
Well, I mean, the
after
new
Type
Z
R.
is the same car too. So.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well,
And
the 370 Nismo was like given the Type R treatment, fully done, built motor at Nismo. They sent the bodies over to Nismo. They put it together on their line, and then I believe that car got undercut because the brakes were garbage. I think they
They
changed everything but the brakes, and then on like the third test lap, the thing was on fire,
Wow.
and
Nice.
it kind of ruined the 370 Nismo. But there's one works across the street from me over in Fremont, and it's a good looking car. I
think
don't
they're
mind it
really
with
cool.
the full kit on it. It's obnoxious. It's got a
Yeah.
huge spoiler. The rear end's got a crazy cut in it. I don't mind it. It doesn't look too bad.
it's a cool diffuser. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're cool.
$16,400
driven a standard 370.
$16,400 up to $55,000.
16,000 they're claiming is the low?
55 is unreal.
But they're I swear you can find them for $9,000.
I'm sure you
all
can,
day
but this is probably one that's actually like
It's like
not
decent.
modified,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But,
it's probably like a decent car with some miles. on it.
Original paint but high mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Z Car
16.4.
Garage, Robert Z Car, really likes them. He sees a lot of them in there. He
Well,
says
yeah, I
they're,
mean,
they're
I've
good
heard.
cars.
Yeah, I've never driven a 350. I've driven a 370, but like everyone says that. You
I've
know,
never driven a
350s have lot of
370. I've driven
potential.
350s.
Yeah. What's your driving experience?
They
Did you
were-
push
I,
it? Or?
I did. I took it in the mountains. We had them at a Subaru. We had a coupe and a cab. At different times for sale, like used cars.
Yeah.
So I would every time we got a car, I would take it like on a little test loop.
Yeah.
They had no impact on me.
But
Like
that
zero
sound- How
impact.
about that sound though?
That
huh?
sound was horrible. And I remember the convertible had the worst vision, I had the worst vision out of any car I've probably ever
terrible
driven.
visibility.
Yeah.
Dude, my favorite meme of all time, my favorite car meme by GeoBaz. Shout out to GeoBaz.
Wow,
one of
what
my
is
favorite
happening
followers.
right now?
What?
Is
happening, dude?
you know GeoBaz?
Shout out to
I don't think
Gio.
so.
I'm surprised you know
No
GeoBaz.
one knows
Dude,
GeoBaz.
you're young enough where you should like it.
Not a single
But
person knows it.
it's
Or acts
a
like he's
punishment.
young.
It's a punishment, and so it's basically an hour at a VQ meet, and it's it's this little meme, and it's and the sounds are fucking incredible. I have
Shout
to play
out to
for you.
GeoBaz.
Wait, what about the trombone? Wasn't that a VQ?
Oh
Yeah.
no, that's Skyline.
Skyline.
That's
Oh.
R35.
They said it's trumpets. They call the VQ like the trumpet.
it's so fucking
Yeah.
It's the
horrible.
worst.
You apparently there's an exhaust mod that makes it sound good, but that's
I don't
Yeah,
think
I've
so.
never heard of it.
Apparently.
I haven't
Probably
heard of it.
equal length headers.
they've got
I
it
mean,
like it's an ankle length 2 to
Yeah,
1
yeah.
to 2. It's some crazy stuff.
$7,000.
Yep.
We're gonna skip the Harley Knucklehead, unless you guys have anything.
Wait,
to say
wait,
about
wait.
it.
It's pretty.
How is that going? That's crazy. It's going up. I would think it would be like some, at least some like hipster bike, like a Norton or a Triumph for the
Or a little like
70s
Honda
or,
Trail.
Yeah, or even or
Maybe
yeah,
those,
like
maybe
a,
those are going up too. But
How about
they
a-
just decided to throw this one in here.
how about a little what's that thing?
Yeah.
Ollie has Cub.
Or a
Oh,
Moto
a
Compo.
Honda Cub.
Yeah,
Those are money.
No, it's a 1936 through 47 Harley Knucklehead.
It's cool to look at.
$143,000
I don't get it.
down to 46
How is
grand.
that?
It's like the first Harley. They've always been
But
collecting.
no, but why?
not the first
No,
Harley.
no, it's not the first Harley at all. But why are they going up in value?
they
Some
just
things
always have.
are
No,
tough to explain.
No, but this is like the whole thing. It's like the boomer. This is like a boomer
It's an era thing.
thing.
It's a generational
Yeah.
shift
It's a
that we're
cafe
talking
racer.
about. That
That's
is
not
no
a
longer,
cafe racer.
It
though.
looks like a cafe.
No, it
It's
does
got
not.
the
It
vibe.
does
No,
not.
it looks like a vintage
dude.
bike.
No,
It
no,
looks
no.
like a
It's,
vintage
it's
bike.
dude.
Cafe
it's,
racer is 60.
Not even vintage. It looks antique.
No,
it
it's-
looks
That's
antique.
not cafe, dude.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
think
an old Harley, dude.
Yeah, I think it's really cool looking. I mean, I
Dude,
think
you're a rat at flipping pages. That
I
was
know,
really
right? Just
sick.
like-
Dude. It is
just
Sorry.
fucking
all right. $143,000
ham fist over
though.
here. Dude, I think it's pretty to look. I don't know shit about motorcycles, but I think it's like as an art piece, I think it's pretty. Like
Well,
it's a cool looking
absolutely, and that's kind of goes back to the.
thing. Is that the thing? Because I mean, it's not something you really ride, dude.
He also said that it was prior to motorcycles having standard levers and pedals.
Yeah.
So you have to actually learn how to
it's
ride
all
it.
effed up. It's like a Model A
oh, it's
or
like
whatever.
like your
Terrifying.
or
throttle
Model
or something.
T. Sorry.
All right. 1992 to 2006 AM General Hummer H1.
This is crazy.
This is kind of crazy.
Is it just because they got so cheap? Because no one like,
Dude, Hummers
or
are.
did they get cheap? Or,
They're not super cheap. They never really got cheap. Even like high mileage ones and beat up and
this is a H1, right?
H1.
Those are, I mean, they're
I've driven 2 of them.
garbage. I've
drove-
driven one.
I drove one.
Our friend had one. He bought it to go gold mining.
Oh, yeah,
Such a
with
rad
the
story.
kit up top.
Yeah.
Gnarly, dude.
The last one I drove was an Alpha, which is the last of the last, and it had that huge cage over the front end and like updated interior and all this stuff.
Updated interior.
Yeah, it was like borderline terrifying on public streets. It's pretty wide and hard to see, and just it's a very cumbersome vehicle to drive.
Hey, you know what's as wide?
Yeah, the new Hummer. But it feels wide because you're so far from the other side of the car. Like the new one, they have crash, like a lot of space between you and the door.
Yeah.
This is like you're at the very edge. But,
And you have that big old tunnel between you
Tunnel's
because
huge.
everything is up in the chassis.
and but then I'll say this, and I can see the appeal, like really high sense of occasion. It just feels like you're in something weird and special.
I mean, it's a military vehicle.
and everyone's looking at you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's one thing if you're into that.
Do people still look at you now? Like when I see an H1, am I really looking at it?
It stands out to me like
Yeah?
immediately.
But I mean, I think it's something where if you have that property with the ranch and with the bullshit, like, I feel like don't you want that car out there?
You
No.
do, but how many people are actually using it for that?
But
But
I
do
mean,
you want it on the ranch, or would you want something that's like open top and kind of like littler that you can motor
I
around?
think that these are very capable.
well, they're insanely capable, right? Like they have
Insanely
insanely
even.
off-road capable. Like they
Yeah.
have like something like their the approach and departure angles are
Yes.
crazy, and they can go up a fucking like straight up
ground
hill
clearance
face
is
and
crazy. Yeah.
Like, yeah, like all that stuff, right? Like portal axles and all
Yeah,
that.
I feel like
So-
I'd want something trail rated.
You want a Silverado, is what you're saying. I mean, I see the appeal, and as you're saying, like I think that there's the sense of occasion. Definitely a car that I would never want to own. I feel like I would be super embarrassed.
But is that
to
a
be
good
seen-
sense of occasion, or is it just like, man, this thing
Drama?
really sucks to
Oh
drive?
no, it's not for us. Like this crowd for
Yeah.
sure is not who they're after. But
I mean,
everyone
you
that
have a
see-
mullet, kind of. I don't know.
Slightly.
but anyone that you see in a truck out there with like wheels and a lift and like lights and all that stuff, it's like they're kind of into these. So this is sort of
Yeah.
like a different thing, and they're pretty rare.
How much
They didn't
do they
make a
go
ton
for?
of them. 44 grand's the bottom, up to $146,000, and that's for that late Alpha 2006 H1.
It's like driving a tank almost, right? Like
It's
isn't that
very
kind of the
close
vibe?
to a
You
tank.
mentioned like something
Very
like
close
that.
to
From
a
what I
tank.
remember too, they didn't change. I don't think they changed any of the suspension work from when it was like
No.
military graded.
Yeah, yeah.
So the ride, it comes out of the box just absolutely like at the end
and
of
they
it shocks.
rattle. And
Yeah.
my friends had a VCR in it. It was pretty sick.
That's
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
So I drove. Tom had one, and it was the like truck bed style,
Oh, yeah.
and then the Alpha I drove was the big wagon
That's the one I drove. Was the wagon style.
style. Yeah. All right, last one. Oh no, I'm sorry, 2 more. 2001 to 2004 Corvette Z06. We've talked about these in the past. We've driven these.
This is a C5.
C5.
Or C6.
All right, can you tell me pricing right now
C5.
first
Yeah.
before we get into it?
13.6 up to 50 grand.
50 grand.
It makes
49.3.
sense that they go up
Yeah.
just because they were like 13 to 20
forever,
forever. Yeah.
17 grand got you like a nice low mileage,
Yeah.
like well kept example.
That one I drove for Danny's. I
Yeah.
drove it I had it for a few days, and it was like, I think he got it for like 18
Yeah.
or something. And
They've
it was
been
like
covering
20
their-
something thousand miles.
I
and
know.
super clean.
So they could see like a really low mileage, cool color example being a really good buy. I think this
Yeah,
has
I mean, it makes sense. I think
potential.
they're horrible for our roads, like, for our narrow roads,
Yeah.
hashtag our narrow roads. But I think like for, you live in the Midwest, go to the track once in a while, like it makes a lot of sense. A lot of performance, and they're very tunable. There's a ton of aftermarket, a ton of grip, blah, blah, blah. If you like them aesthetically, that's another bonus.
Yeah.
Not for me, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They've
Feel like
they've
crayon interiors.
crayon interiors. The
Yeah.
seats, probably the worst seats ever.
Oh yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
they
they're
don't
horrible.
grip at all.
C6 aren't much better.
There's
but,
been one on a rally, right?
yeah.
A white one?
Wait, was there?
No, that was an FRC.
Oh no, there was one on a rally.
it-
Jason Camise.
No,
sorry.
it wasn't a Z06. I thought.
Yeah, it
I thought
was.
it was just an FRC.
I believe there's
Jason-
a white Z06.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was-
shit.
Connor?
Oh, right.
It was
because
Jason
it was.
Connor.
I remember he would tell everyone
Jason
how
Connor.
it was one of 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
I totally
It was
forgot.
Grand Prix. I don't know what was the white
Right.
called.
It was rad. I think it definitely had a bit of a spatial issue on some of those back
Yeah,
roads. The B
one of the
roads are
slowest
tight.
guys out there.
Yeah, the B roads are pretty tight out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Connor had it.
I totally forgot about that.
I don't mind the way they look. I mean, a white
like
one.
it's like a
the-
bar
the-
of soap.
and
I
the
like bar of
and the
soap.
wheels were cool. Like stock wheels.
Yeah,
were
wheels are cool.
and-
They're like 5-spoke double spokes or something.
They're
maybe?
staggered too, like front to like
Yeah.
diameter, which is
Oh,
unique.
19s in the rear and
And I like the
18s in the front. Or
I like the notchback over the sloped back.
It is a good look. Yeah.
I don't know. This doesn't surprise me to be on the list. I think it's a good.
I mean,
good
they
one.
were so cheap. Like
Yeah.
they hadn't
Yeah.
gone up yet. So
Exactly.
like, in their prime to go up, especially with like where the age of the person that loved this car when they were a kid, when they
Yep.
were, 12 years old, now they have money and they can buy a car. So
And
yeah, might as well.
when I was doing autocross with the Viper, it was this car, the Z06, a GT2 911, the Viper, and some other comparable cars. Z06 was the fastest. It was
Yeah.
fully modded. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I had like slicks and
Yeah, I mean it's the
aero and
classic
stuff,
American formula, right?
but it's
super wide,
very very
a lot of
capable.
tires.
Yeah, super
yeah,
capable.
and it's got all the right bits, right? NA V8 manual rear wheel drive, like
and made of plastic, so
made of
not
plastic.
And
super
fiberglass rear springs.
the transverse leaf springs, yeah.
Yeah.
front
Rear
also.
too, right?
I don't
Oh,
know.
I have no
maybe.
idea.
I think there's a
Oh
big
wait,
old-
yeah, it has their their.
I know in the
leaf springs
rear
all
it has
front
the sideways. Like
I think in the
just
front
like
does too.
Yeah, but I don't.
that.
Yeah,
Like that.
are they
Yeah.
fiberglass or carbon fiber?
Oh, there might be carbon fiber on the Z06.
Oh,
I don't know. Or was that an upgrade you could
Shit,
get?
I can't
don't
remember.
even know.
13.6 to 49.3.
Yeah,
That's
that seems
about
about right. 13.6 is still like the low that they've been for a while.
That's
Or
got to
maybe they
be
were
like
10.
100,000 miles. Like probably needs a bit, but still like no accidents.
I feel like, dude, I wonder.
Yeah, they're fun. They're stupid fun. It's like it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
muscle car shit.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's cheap.
That actually handles, but it handles on. I think the asterisk there is like smooth roads.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Smooth
it wants-
flowing road.
or
Like,
highway poles.
You
and
hit
stuff.
little bumps in those things, and they like kind of don't know what
They
to
like
do.
jiggle apart. Yeah,
I think it
that's
is like a Mustang thing where you just need to throw money at
Yeah.
making it prep.
Well, you
for
can
what
do
you're doing.
coilovers on them and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you do have overhang issues
Dude.
and all that shit.
Mileage
too.
The
isn't too scary
aftermarket-
either, right? Mileage on those things, it's like,
Not a big
yeah,
deal.
go for it.
The aftermarket's crazy too, and like whatever you blow,
So much.
you pop an engine, you buy a new fucking
Dude,
engine.
so much support. That's the thing is there's multiple catalogs of stuff you can do to these cars.
Yeah.
So
many
and then
summits.
then you get to all the way up if you want to like Le Mans level.
Well, that's
race
what
car
I was about to
stuff.
say. That I think if I go C5R on it, that's where it starts to look good.
Yeah.
Like that's I think just stock.
I know.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But I think if you go race car with it, like they can look pretty.
gets-
rad.
They always
Gets
lose me
full.
with that rear end, dude. I just hate that.
Well, there's
rear
nothing
end.
there.
Where,
It's
where
just
they
like a-
phone it in completely.
They just phone it in, dude.
Yeah.
They like the new one, the last gen,
Yeah.
every gen.
All right, last car, 2008 to 2015 Audi R8.
Dude, this is one I've been preaching for several years
We've
now.
been talking.
I like this car.
preaching choirs,
This and the CLK are my like,
Black Series.
or yeah, CLK Black.
Yeah. So, these prices include both engines, so the V10 and the V8, and it includes manual versus automatic. In the magazine, they say basically avoid the automatic, which
Yeah.
is we've talked about in the
Especially
past. but-
first gen automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a $25,000 premium for the automatic. And now it's like more than double that probably for the penalty, to have it now.
It's kind of funny, right? Like
Yeah.
it's flipped where that becomes the premium for the manual.
Yep.
I mean,
So-
Artronic or whatever.
Yeah. Value wise, they're saying 91.5. That's for a decent, I'm sure that's for a decent V8.
So I looked this up today. Because I was looking at these actually before I bought the Carrera.
Yeah.
Because I was having a hard time finding an 80s 911 for anything under like 80 grand.
Jesus.
And I was like, oh, dude, R8, that would be rad. Like no one has them. It's kind of cool,
Yeah.
I wanted a V8 manual. They were all like 80 to 100 or more. And then now I just saw like Bring a Trailer one sold last week for like 71.
A V8.
V8 manual.
Oh,
They're
hardtop.
still affordable.
Yeah, and it had like 70,000 miles or something, 60-something thousand, but
Yeah.
whatever.
You know what's
like,
funny? The Roadsters don't bother me at all. They have
No, they
really
look good.
They look good.
good lines
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
cool thing about the coupe, like if you go early car, coupe, it had that blade, which I feel like is such a cool design aspect that is like individual to that exact car.
Yep.
No one else has ever done that. They've never had that blade like that.
Yeah.
And it's so like, it's such an R8 thing. And the second gen R8, like ditched that,
I know.
which is kind of annoying because that was their signature. It's what made it kind of like a special thing to me.
Yeah, and it's funny. They actually harp on it quite a bit as a polarizing design feature. So it's like either you love it or you hate it, and it adds to a real blind spot in that C pillar or B pillar.
I'm sure.
But I like it.
But it's red, and you get it in carbon.
You can get any color you want.
Yeah,
right?
the one I saw was light. This one that just sold was light metallic, and it had a silver blade. So it was probably a pretty like not option car to have a silver blade.
Right.
But you can. I know back in the day, you could buy those from Audi, carbon ones.
Crazy. So what does it look like without it? Is it just like a
it's
weird
just a
panel?
it's empty.
like integrated.
Basically, it has like little pop clips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we actually, at my company I worked for, we bought something like 8 sets of those in carbon because Audi like effed up or something, and they priced like our local dealer. He called us. He's like, "Hey," because we wanted to order one. He's like, "For some reason, they're showing up at like $1,300 a set,
And what should they be?
and they should be like $5,000."
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, I see like 6 in stock in the country right now, or it was like 8 or something.
You're like, we'll take.
and
them
we're
all.
like, we'll take 6.
wow.
And we ordered them all. We bought them all, and then we were slanging them for like $5,000.
Nice.
Yeah. And they're OEM.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great. And I'm sure they're a wear item because they're where they're placed on the car. Like
Yeah, they
they're
get
gonna
pitted, right?
Pitted,
Although
so
you,
pitted.
yeah,
Right, the barrel.
you'd have to like sand down the clear and
Right.
re-clear them basically.
So we have had one on the rally. Our buddy Tim.
He's had some issues with his.
I was going to get into that. Like we all know Audis of this era are like super sketch.
Yeah, he also has an Artronic, which is not
His is a
he was
V10
going to
too.
swap it. He was going to manual swap it.
Is his an automatic?
Do you
Yeah.
know what his is having problems with? I know it's a V10 car.
It was some kind of weird leak, but here's the funny story
it's like
about
leaking everywhere.
Yeah, but here's the crazy story, dude. So
Oh, man.
he has a lift in his garage, or in his, he has a storage area, and something happened where the lift failed with it up top, and so the car is stuck. And he called, I don't know if it was Benpack or whoever makes the lift.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, sorry, that's an obsolete model. We don't work on it. So nobody's willing to work on his lift. So his car is literally stuck up in the air on his lift in his garage at home.
Dude, this will be like one of those barn finds that
Dude,
you
so
know.
So he has to get like a forklift with
He's-
like bars
on the
and
rally.
all
Like
that
so
him and Nick
scary.
were like brainstorming and they were trying to figure something out. And then Hunter went out to help him, and like they're talking about putting it on some kind of stand and like lowering it one section at a time.
Yeah.
Like it's
like
like
a
some
scissor lift, and then
Wow.
you
yeah,
like
some
disassemble
crazy ass fucking thing.
lift
Yeah,
or
but the
something?
car's like stuck up in the air, and it's been there for like a year. Like he just went to go fix some oil
Dang.
leaks and like that. But he was originally going to swap it. He was going to do a manual swap,
Wow.
which is a thing because it's kind of like the tip or the
like what?
it's like the SMGs.
Couple hours, probably.
probably a couple hours, but
Yeah.
it's like the SMGs where it's like an actual manual transmission
yeah.
with like
Yeah.
a robot.
automated manual.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
just had a lunatic on the smoking tire who did it trans swap recently.
30 minutes.
Oh, really?
I think it's taken the man like a year and a half. The dude went back to junior college, went back to community college night classes so he could better
Oh, that was
understand
like
what
a
he's trying to
video,
do.
right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
it's pretty
Nice.
crazy.
Well, let's assume you can get a manual. They talk about the gated shifter, which is cool. The shift knob has always kind of bothered me.
The metal shift knob.
It's clunky. It's big.
It's like a shape of a cylinder. It's like a
It's
Coke can, like a
yeah.
small.
And it's
Coke
also
can.
has like knurls.
Yeah, it's knurled,
and
yeah.
it's all from a single. It's like a billet aluminum, so it's cool and high quality. But
one of our most popular
I was
items.
just gonna say it's got to be
was replacing that shift knob
With just a carbon ball?
We made a CGT style one.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was metal bottom, and so it was like a turned stainless, like weighted
So it had
stainless
weight.
on the bottom, and then a carbon. You know how like the CGT had the metal on the bottom,
Yep.
and the
Wood.
wood on the top,
Yeah.
and then we did carbon for those.
Yeah.
And then we did this with a carbon top.
Yeah.
So it was metal on the
That
bottom, it was
sounds
weighted and it was
way
round,
better.
like a Mercy shift knob
Yeah.
or
it's a
like
weird
Ferrari
looking
or
thing for
whatever.
sure. Yeah.
It doesn't
and,
do it for me.
And the thing is with those, they were like, so they were aluminum with like a finish on them, and they would get scratched the shit.
Right,
Like,
right.
because it wasn't like just, whatever. It was this aluminum with a some kind of finish.
like a clear on it.
and they would get so scratched up.
Oh,
People
funny.
wearing wedding rings and having like bracelets on and watches.
Yeah, especially these guys, like with the guys that buy brand new supercars, and this is kind of a supercar. They wear a lot of rings and jewelry and
Yeah.
stuff like that, so
those
they
beads.
tend to have like weird, beads,
Is all that stuff.
Benoit balls.
Yeah. All right, so that takes us through it. Audi R8, $91,500 up to $216,000.
Dude, NA, mid-engine, manual,
all-wheel drive.
gated. All-wheel drive is like kind of a negative there. But
Racing pedigree as well?
no.
No, not
Doesn't
really.
it have some?
No.
Doesn't the R8, what R8 has pedigree?
I mean, whatever.
The
They
newer
race
ones
them all-
do, but
Yeah.
then you're also looking at like the Audi version of a Gallardo, which is
Yeah.
a popular car, and
Is that your rally car choice? Is that what you're thinking right now?
Oh, are we going into that?
I mean the interior alone is like it's very nice.
Yeah, it's
you
very-
But
know,
it's
and-
like
very normal.
So Tim has taken his on a rallies like twice.
at least
Or so-
once.
yeah, and he's said that was the last time he took it. He's like, dude, it's kind of boring. Like it's
bet.
too comfortable. It's too.
He
especially
was
with
an
the-
Artronic.
He wasn't
I was
an
gonna
And
say,
he
Artronic.
was a V10.
Yeah, but V10s are awesome too.
V10s are rad.
But
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
he wanted more sense of occasion. More. It's just it's kind of
Yeah,
like
he
the
loves
NSX.
his 987 Boxsters.
But it's
for
like an
rally.
NSX conundrum, right? Where like it's
Yeah.
like a little too
I was
it's
just
too
gonna say-
comfortable. It's too like it's
Yeah.
it's too insulated in some ways.
It is. It's a little safe of a choice, and it's not very like super exotic looking when you see them. I mean, they do look low slung and wide, but they also look very Audi-ish.
But they
So
also
it's-
aren't that exotic, really.
No, they're not.
Like,
That's what I'm
the
saying.
thing.
Like,
Like, especially a V8, it was like comparable,
Yeah.
and it was comparable and slower than a 997 Carrera,
right.
right? Like
Right.
that was what it's competing against. It
And-
wasn't competing against like,
Yeah.
it's not a super. It's not competing against 911 turbos even or GT3s or
430,
anything like
like-
that. It's like 911 Carrera and like Top Gear tested it and all these things. Like the 911 beat it.
Yeah.
At everything.
But it's the driving dynamics, it's the sense of occasion, right? The looks, the mid-engine, all that. But
It-
I guess
It is hands down my wife's favorite car of like the supercar.
interesting.
Yeah, my wife loves like that aesthetic compared to the Gallardo. It's like all day for her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got more sense of occasion, I think, than a standard 911 equivalent, but it's got less than like a Mercy, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's got like
But it's not as good of a driver as a 911.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's something I would have to drive both. But I guess
it isn't.
historically, yeah.
It just isn't. But I mean, yeah. But it does have that, like, it has more presence for sure.
Yeah.
It has more of like, that's a supercar.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I
But,
mean,
but
it's-
you're
it
saying
looks
it doesn't have a lot of presence, but it
But more so than a
more
911.
so than a 911.
Yeah, because a 911
which is
kinda-
actually what it was competing against,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But I mean, I guess what I'm
Because
getting
even
at
a top of the line, like our, a V10 model was like, what, 170 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they still make them now. Maybe you can get them for like 200 or something. But even that, it's like, a 911 turbo's that much for two, right?
Yeah.
But you do get into where you're like, oh, they're 170, but I can get a GT3.
I know. Well, I also,
So
this
it's
is a
kinda-
funny one for me to think about value because it still feels so modern.
Yeah.
As like a collector car. It's a very like, I'm not going to say throwaway car because it isn't super complex, but
I think
just-
it's a good place to start, right? Like if you're, I
Yeah.
can't imagine, even if it dips a little, like long
Very
term,
safe.
it makes a lot of sense, right? It's a
Yeah.
pretty safe one because of, especially if you get a manual, right? Like
Yep.
it's a cool car, and there aren't many like it. It's aesthetically pretty unique.
It actually has
is.
nothing. I don't think there's really anything about it that will age poorly. The interiors are very simple but good looking.
No, I agree. I
The
think
exterior
you're-
is good looking. It's like
if anything, it's like servicing it will be a pain, but not any more than it was when it was new.
Yeah.
It's like still the same, right? And it's fairly modern, so very modern.
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe this gen cab was in the first Iron Man.
Dude,
No, second Iron
Second
Man.
Iron Man, Tony Stark was driving down the
That's-
one in one.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
It's got that look, right? The mask.
Well, actually, it might have
Yeah.
been in the first one too. But I remember for the second one, there was a big push. I went and saw Iron Man a week before it came out as invited by Audi because Audi was like very featured in it. So
yeah. It wasn't it like at Monaco or something that it pops up. I can't remember.
I don't
But it was like
remember.
at a racetrack or something.
He has a fight with Pepper
Oh.
and then drives home with like the model in the back of the car or something like that.
So,
Like sticking out on the one.
the one of the Ironmans did have Monaco Grand Prix was in it.
Yeah, and it was definitely an R8 in it too, because
Yeah.
I can't remember how or what, but Yeah. Those are cool. I was thinking, like, how crazy is the Mercy a gnarly, like, DWA rally option?
So gnarly.
Super
So
wide.
gnar.
Like, think of overhangs. I mean, you would be
No,
scraping.
not very big. The overhangs
No,
are not very
they're
big.
bigger than it looks, dude.
Nah,
That's a
they're not very
scrapey
big.
boy.
They do have pretty big front over.
That's a scrapey lip, dude.
Damn,
You'd be crushing
I'm not
it.
gonna do the bumpy road. Or,
Hey, for the last rally, you can get away with it.
yeah, right. Or even like, I mean, there's a few that I
Like,
feel like
go down the coast and then hit up like
58 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could get away with it, but I just think for any of the B road stuff that we do, you'd be kind of miserable. It's super wide.
yeah.
It's got big overhangs and poor visibility. Like,
I'm picking
it's
the
not-
Harley, guys.
Me too. That's what I was gonna go with. I'm going with the cappuccino,
Yeah, the
boys.
R8 is like definitely the safe option,
R8's
and then
the
Z06s you'd be miserable for the same reasons you just described.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But you
R8's
don't
the
have the
most
engine.
capable, like kind of timeless supercar.
But I feel like
So in short, I'm going R8 and Merce.
I think the Merce is definitely the one that's that's going to pop more for
LP
sure.
640 manual is going to
Yeah.
be a very expensive car
Yeah,
soon.
but
I
the
think.
R8, I feel like you almost want the V8 because you want that the slow car, the momentum.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to be able
And
to,
they sound rad,
They
dude.
sound
I mean,
awesome.
V10 sound good too,
Yeah,
but
they
R8
sound amazing.
really
and
good.
I think
Sound
from
really
a
good.
service standpoint, they're easier.
Yeah.
There's-
Yeah, but it's also like it's an opportunity to be able to use more of the car, right? Like you actually get to rev it out in all of the gears
Yeah,
because
they're
it isn't
400
as
horsepower
fast
or
and like
whatever.
all that.
Where do you guys stand on the S8 V10 of that same
that era?
generation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, those were so fast when they were new.
But they're just kind of like
Crazy car and
Yeah.
very complex.
I just never thought they looked as good as
They don't-
the first gen
I know.
S8. It was
That's-
such
I
a
never did
good
either.
looking
Yeah.
thing, and then they got kind of rounded
They're
and they
blah.
looked more like a
they're
Passat.
just blah and they're all
Dude,
black.
yeah.
They seem
there's
like
one of those near my house, and it was like on the ground for a while, like because they have that air suspension, and I'm like, dude,
that's fun.
I'm like, what is going on with this car? You know, like is
Yeah.
that like just abandoned there? And like I'm like for sure at some point, like this thing's gonna have weeds growing through it. And like a month ago, it's like all risen up. It's like looking normal now, and it's registered. I'm like, what the fuck is going
Someone
on?
just put 10 grand into it. That's what
Someone just put
happened.
10 grand into it. Yeah, now it's like it seems like they drive it, but it's sat
Yeah.
for like at least a year, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like but those are as you said, very complex, and I don't think they're kind of bland, dude. I mean,
know.
they got the right
But
motor.
it is this, it's that
They are
Gallardo
ver-
V10 like sleeper sedan,
But
really.
the old ones look so good.
The first gen is
I
where
think
it's
Good
at.
luck
so
finding
good
one of
looking.
those, dude. Those
I
are
know.
Dude,
if you
there's
do,
been a
they're-
few manuals that have popped up on BAT.
What?
Like people do conversions on those.
Dang.
Those are super rad.
Hey, you
Yeah.
see that Lexus off topic, but that Lexus LS at Argus? That's sitting
Oh
there.
yeah.
It looks really nice.
Oh, look at
dude.
this guy.
One owner, champagne, under 10 grand.
Coach
Looks-
edition or what?
Dude, it's like a 2004. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks really
I
nice
know.
though, dude.
I mean, that's what I cross shop.
Dude,
with.
if I was Warren, that would be my fucking.
daily?
That would be my
Dude, but then
baller
I'm
daily.
going back. I'm like going
No,
back
but
to
you
old.
yeah, but you're big body, dude. You're even bigger body than what you have now. You have the big old back seats. Andrew's like,
Oh, so
dude.
it's the 2004 with the big like triangular lights.
Yeah.
You got to get Andrew a curtain in the rear.
It looks
little
good,
VIP
dude.
curtain.
Junction Produce, dude.
Junction Produce.
it
all the
looks
things.
good, man. Fully stock.
No, I like it.
SSR
I've looked at those for
Professors or whatever on
a long
there.
time.
Yeah, and I feel like everything's gone down in price. Like normal cars like that
Yeah.
have gone down because there was a minute there where like those.
Well, they're
were-
just old too. They don't have all the tech, so people are.
But I'm saying there was a
over 'em.
minute like a year ago where that was like a $12,000 car, and
Oh,
now
I
it's
see.
like
Yeah.
under 10, and
Yeah.
it feels like a lot of.
I look
car.
at those all the time. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do one trivia question. We're gonna stop this episode, and then we're gonna do questions and updates on the next episode tonight.
Whoa,
How do
okay.
you feel about that?
Let's do it.
Double dip. All right. Trivia time.
This guy's all warmed up. He's been doing trivia. On
I
the
know,
boat,
dude. Cruise trivia.
What you got, dude?
How many nautical miles? No, I don't know. Audi bought Volkswagen in 1998. How much did they spend to buy the storied brand of Lamborghini?
Oh man.
You said Audi bought Volkswagen. in
Yeah, I
1998.
know. I know.
I was like,
But he meant Lamborghini.
You remember what?
So
You know
sorry.
that meme with all
Volkswagen
the-
bought Lamborghini.
Yes.
Audi bought Lamborghini.
VAG.
It actually wasn't Volkswagen. It was
Yeah, it's
Audi
Audi.
bought
I was like, I had all
Sorry,
the
sorry,
formulas
yeah.
in my head. I'm like, what the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?
Audi?
beautiful mind.
Audi bought Lamborghini.
Okay.
Volkswagen wasn't involved.
Audi bought Lamborghini.
1998, by the way.
1998.
That seems early. I would have said like early 2000s, but
Yeah. Well, because the last Diablo did have a little sprinkle.
Yeah, VT did. It
Yeah.
had the Quattro
Yeah.
system.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
did. You say a little sprinkle?
Yeah, a little sprinkle me, man.
Yeah.
Sprinkle me. I'm going to say, dude, I have no freaking clue. I'm going to say 200 million.
Damn, that sounds super cheap.
You got Lamborghini was like, what did they make? How much?
they had
What were their profits?
One car,
Dude,
right?
they had gold
Diablo?
chains and chest hair.
And they were owned by what?
Right.
Dodge before that or whatever.
oh, was it a
there was a minute there.
Chrysler? Was it Chrysler still the owner?
Yeah,
By the way, they
dude, it was probably like $50,000.
Fun little trivia, side trivia is that, or information, Chrysler with a Z was going to enter Formula One with Lamborghini, and they were going to be the supplier to McLaren. Did you know that in the early 90s? And
Yeah.
Ayrton Senna tested that engine and said it was actually way better than the Peugeot engine that they went in with, but it didn't pan out. It was actually unreliable.
Did you know Cadillac's trying to join
I
F1
saw that.
right now?
It's pretty crazy.
With Andretti.
I did see that.
What's happening?
It's pretty wild.
All right, back on topic.
750 mil.
750 million. We have 200, 750.
I think you should go
Half-face. I
low,
can't
dude.
get
Just
a
say
read on it.
$1, dude.
I was gonna do like 150.
Just say $1.
150.
Yeah, I think they got away.
Just say
dirt cheap.
$1, dude.
Dante wins
Yeah.
110.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Talk about a return on investment.
Wow.
I mean, they probably make that much on just like apparel. You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck
Dude.
yeah. But they made it that
know.
that big, right?
You're buying a
Crazy.
brand.
By the
at
way,
that point.
1998, $110 million bought the entire brand of
Yeah.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, with everything that they own, probably all
Everything.
their facilities and everything.
But
Yeah, it's-
literally, they made the Diablo and they sold like 20 of those, dude.
I know, but the brand, I mean,
I know, but they
Yeah.
hadn't. That wasn't a.
Lane, he raced a Mondial. with that.
I mean, it's the same thing with Bugatti too. I mean, they bought Bugatti
Yeah.
for I don't know how much.
Bugatti was
but
a dead brand.
It was
right?
completely dead,
Yeah, yeah.
and they brought it back, right? And
Yeah.
to make it into this, and Halo.
Although, yeah, what are their profit? What do they do for profits now? I don't know. Whatever.
Bugatti?
They
Well,
probably
their
sell a lot of
insurance
like
Probably
pool tables and stuff.
Pretty
I know.
well, I bet they do.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
fine.
it's
but
like-
I know
like
Ferrari makes more profit on their clothing and apparel than
I
they
believe
do
it.
on the
That
cars.
cologne,
so,
Ferrari
yeah.
cologne.
what about their roller coasters?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, they have a theme park, huh?
Theme park, dude. All right, that's podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.